Welcome back to Pint with the Coach. I think this is episode 17. We took a couple weeks off there, I think maybe about 4 or so. But we're back with them. Got a little bit busy there with just some other projects going on and things. So in this week's episode, what we want to talk about a little bit today is rethinking total body workouts and is it the right option for everybody? Before we get into that, our beer this week is an Oktoberfest from Germany. It's called Weissfeiner, and I probably butchered that name. It's about 5.7 ABV. It's a pretty good Oktoberfest, and some of you know that Oktoberfest beers are one of my favorite styles. Just you can only get them in a short period of time of the year. So this beer is really good. If you see it out, I would recommend picking it up. So rethinking total body workouts for clientele and for everyone. Are they right for everyone? The biggest question here, or the answer to that is yes and no. And the question is, it depends on what the goal is. It depends on how long they have been training and what their training age is. And when I say training age, it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean how old they are, it's how long they've been in the gym. So somebody that has a higher training age that's relatively strong and has been doing total body workouts for quite a while, it might be time to move them out of that and into some type of either a push-pull split or some type of even body weight splits, kind of going back to the old bodybuilder style type things. And again, this is a small percentage of the population that we're talking about with this, because again, where the total body workouts come in, I think they're really productive and they work well for probably 90-95% of the general population, which is why we use them so much here at PNF in the gym, because most people, they have a really hard time getting into a regular weekly routine just with life. You know, a lot of our clients, they may be here 2 days this week, they may be here 3 days next week, they might be out of town on business the following week. Next week they're back for 2 days, next week they're in 3, then they're out of town again. So it makes it really hard to program like a push-pull rotation, and it makes it almost impossible for a body part split rotation. But for the clients that are able to get in 3 times a week, they have good base level strength. Again, that's kind of all relative, but some guidelines that I kind of like with that, and I think are good guidelines, is can they squat their body weight? Can they deadlift 1.5 times their body weight? Are they able to do a pull-up, and can they do 25 push-ups? If they can do those things, they've demonstrated that they're pretty strong, so we don't necessarily need to go after adding more strength to that. So that client, what happens with a total body workout all the time, they're relatively strong, they're able to create a lot of damage in the workout, and some that takes the body a little bit longer to recover from. So they may do better with having a longer rest period between workouts. But again, we're still working out maybe every other day. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice push-pull split. So, like I said, if the client's relatively strong, they're able to commit to a 3-day-a-week rotation, and they're able to do that pretty regularly. They've been training for about a year is roughly the guideline I like with that. It might be good to move them away from a total body routine. Not that it's bad, not that we won't come back to that, because we will. But the push-pull works really well. The body part split routine, not that it doesn't work. I think the biggest problem with it is that it requires such a large time commitment. Typically 4 days a week at least, if not more. Most people just don't have that time commitment. And if you miss a day, then you're kind of thrown off and things like that. So that's where that's not necessarily the best setup for a lot of people. But with the push-pull, what we can do is we can have a Monday where we do like a lower push and an upper pull. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do an upper push and a lower pull. Friday, we're going to go upper pull and lower push. And then back on the following Monday, we're going to go with a lower pull and an upper push. So what we're doing is we're using 4 different setups, but we're rotating them over basically a 10-day period. So the first movement pattern that we're doing in those, that's going to be our big thing. We're going to do, typically the setup I like has 3 exercises in that pattern. The secondary part of that pattern only has 1 exercise in that movement pattern. And what that does, it gives you a longer rest in between similar workouts. So we can do a lot more work on a movement pattern than we would in a total body workout, but our recovery time in between there is a little bit longer. Again, I talked about the setup. I'm going to talk about the one that I find works pretty well and feels pretty good. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but what I've found is always starting with a dynamic warm-up, somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes of that. From there, I like moving into some core work, typically 2 exercises, about 3 sets. It's going to be something around either rotational power, some type of planking movement, some type of anti-rotation, things like that. From there, I like to do a little bit of like a preload, pre-activation circuit. So that could be some stretching, some explosive stuff, maybe some light loading, whatever the movement pattern is that we're working that day. It's going to be in there. It's usually a circuit of about 4 exercises or stretches in there. And then from there, we get into, say, I'm going to go with just what the first one would be. We're going to have a lower push, then we're going to have an upper pull. And we'll probably do 3, you could do even 5 sets on that, depending on what your rep schemes are. And then the second group is going to be 3 things together. So we're going to go with, again, it's going to be lower push, and then some type of carry. So we're doubling up on the lower push there. But again, we're not going to be coming back to that for about 9 to 10 days. And then at the end of that, I'm finding for a lot of people that are more advanced in their fitness, I'm not a real big fan of having the so-called metabolic finishers in there. I like them more on days in between. It seems the body seems to respond a little bit better to those. But again, it's going to depend on the client. Some people that don't have the time to do something every day, we're going to throw those in there because that just makes more sense and fits their schedule, things like that. So if we may or may not have that, and then typically put in either some arm work, some shoulder work, it could be some more ab work, kind of whatever the emotional spot is for the client, for the person, for yourself, whatever that may be. Usually 2 exercises, 3 sets of 10, 15, kind of whatever you're feeling. But that basically just, it gives you a little bit of room to work on the things that you want to work on, maybe trouble areas, things like that. Also with the client, a lot want to do bicep curls or want to do shoulder raises, things like that. So it's still a place that we can put it in. We're still able to give them what they want, but also keep them safe, because we know that a lot of them are going to go out and do this stuff on their own, and we can help them do it effectively. Again, we're just doing this to provide some variety. If we train the same way all the time, it tends to create a little bit of staleness for the client. Not staleness necessarily in results, but sometimes just mentally, you just kind of get tired of doing the same kind of setup. So the push-pull is a good way to kind of change things up a little bit. Like I said, the body part splits are great too. It just is going to take a little bit longer time commitment. Over the course of a lifting, not really a career, but a career or whatever you want to call it, we're probably going to do a mix of all of those. You might be in push-pulls for 12 weeks and you come back to some total bodies, and then you may go into some body part split things and stuff like that, but just kind of keeps your body feeling good, keeps you training a little bit different, keeps things exciting, because it does get monotonous sometimes doing a lot of the same exercises and things like that, because there's only so much that you can do that's effective. You can always try different things, throw things in, but a lot of this stuff isn't as effective as a lot of your more basic movements, your big rocks, kind of things there. So this is just another way to change things up. I find that it works well for people that have, like I was saying, have a little bit older training age and have been in the gym for a little bit. So that might be something to give a try in your programming if you're finding that you're getting a little bit mentally stale with it or something like that. So hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Like I said, it's one of the better Oktoberfest beers that I've had, so if you find it out, just give it a try and let me know what you think.